Hey everybody, my name is Max George, and today I will be presenting on guinea worm disease, more popularly known as dracunculiasis. So what is guinea worm disease? It is a parasitic infection by the nematode roundworm Dracunculus medinensis. And so some common names, taxonomy of the guinea worm. Common names are the African worm, and a more classical name is fiery serpents, and I'll explain why that is later. And for taxonomy, it is of the phylum Nematoda, family Dracunculoideae, the genus Dracunculus, and the species medinensis. So general characteristics, larvae of D. medinensis are microscopic. Males are much smaller than the females are. Fully grown, females can grow up to 80 centimeters and carry 3 million larvae, max. Both males and females are going to be white with small diameters, which you can see here. Their diameters are about 2 millimeters. And when the female is finally exiting the host, just for reference, she is about the thickness of a spaghetti noodle. Females are also ovoviviparous, which means their eggs are hatching inside the female prior to giving birth. So historical significance, it's a super ancient disease, which goes back thousands of years. It has biblical references. The parasite might be what is referred to in the Bible as the fiery serpents, which attacked the Israelites. The World Health Organization has documented that a male guinea worm was found in a mummy from Egypt. A lot of classical scholars have talked about it, like Avicenna, Galen, and Carolus Linnaeus. The actual name guinea worm was given in the 1700s by European sailors when they encountered cases of the worm in Guinea, West Africa. And Carolus Linnaeus actually identified it as a worm in the 1700s. Prior to this, it was thought that it might be like a dead nerve or dead tissue. And one of the coolest parts of it is that the traditional method of removing the worm by winding it about a stick might be the origin of the symbol of medicine, where the snakes are coiled about a staff. So for at-risk populations, it's going to be people living in impoverished agricultural areas of the world, especially places with either poor water quality or with a lot of stagnant water. And specifically the four countries of Chad, South Sudan, Ethiopia, or Mali. So now I want to talk about the life cycle of D. medinensis. It's a process that is going to involve several hosts. So to begin with, there will be microscopic D. medinensis larvae in water. They're going to be adjusted by copepods, the most common of which are water fleas, specifically the Cyclops water flea. And then they remain in these copepods for about 2 weeks. They undergo 2 molts, and then they're able to infect humans after that. And so when the copepods are in turn ingested by large animals, normally humans who drink the water, after ingestion, the copepod is going to die in the stomach, which releases the larvae into the humans. Larvae then burrow through the stomach and intestinal walls, and they take up residence in abdominal cavity tissues. And this is where males and females are going to copulate. Then post-copulation, males die and are eliminated by the body, while females are going to move to a more subcutaneous tissues anywhere in the body. And so females are actually living in the body for a full year, and I'll explain later why they're actually able to do this. And during that time, they're feeding on blood for nutrients. Then after this year, they will exit the body via a rupturing burning blister, hence the name fiery serpent. And this blister can appear anywhere in the body. And to actually get out of the body, they're boring through body tissues. So while it's emerging, it's a process that can take 1 to 3 weeks, so it's a very long, painful time. And during this time, if the blister is submerged in water, which a patient will do for relief from the burning sensation, this induces the worm to release hundreds of thousands of larvae into this water, into a new water source, thus contaminating it. And after release, the larvae can only survive for about 3 days if they don't find a new copepod host vector. And so here I just have a graphic of where they're starting. So they're infecting the water flea here being ingested by humans, growing, developing, and maturing, eventually emerging, infecting a new water source, and then it happens all again. So why? So it's in the body for a year. How can it actually do this? The worm has adapted really well to avoiding the human immune system, and it does this. There's two main methods. So it will produce human-like proteins. So this stops the the immune system from identifying it and eliminating it. And it also, while it's in your subcutaneous cavities and moving about your body prior to beginning its final exit, is secreting opiates which suppress any sort of pain that you might feel. And so the problem with this is that since your immune system can't identify and it can't destroy it, you will never develop an immune response to it or any sort of immunity. So a patient can be reinfected countless numbers of times throughout their life. So in the year that it's in your body, you're not going to experience any signs or symptoms. So early diagnosis is really hard because you have no reason to suspect that you even are infected. And so when the worm begins to emerge, the hallmark sign is going to be, you can see it here, is this blister that is going to rupture, and that blister is accompanied by an incredibly intense burning sensation. So while the worm is actually emerging, it can, in 90% of the cases, it's going to be coming out of your lower extremities. So in most pictures you'll see it's going to be coming out of like someone's lower legs or their foot. But unfortunately, any area of the body is really fair game. An extreme example for one patient was that it emerged from under his tongue, which I can't imagine how horrific that would have been. And other side effects will include dizziness, nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. Also, so no vaccines or any sort of like medicine exist to actually treat or prevent this parasite from getting into you. And so the worm pretty much has to be allowed to exit naturally over the period of 1 to 3 weeks. This is because it can break really easily, and so if it gets left inside your body, you're more prone to secondary infections because of that. And the traditional method is winding it around some sort of stick as it exits. This helps speed the process up a bit and will prevent the worm from going back into the body. And usually it will come out several centimeters per day. Anti-inflammatory medicines also might help ease the pain, such as thiabenzidol. The main issue or concern with the infection is actually the secondary infections and complications due to this large blister. So if you think about it, you have a large blister open for 1 to 3 weeks while the worm is emerging. So that can lead to serious issues such as lockjaw tetanus, joint arthritis, or contractures. And normally topical antibiotics are used to prevent these from occurring. You're also concerned about the patient contaminating new sources of water as water relieves the burning sensation, but will also induce the parasite to release its larvae into that new water source. Luckily, you're very unlikely to die from actually being infected by the guinea worm. The issue is the length of disability caused by the disease and the secondary infections. Normally, a patient is disabled for a period of 8.5 weeks, which is seriously bad for rural agricultural communities because the person cannot work during that time. So if a parent is infected, they cannot go and like tend to their fields. They also can't take their kids to school. So this disease is not only affecting poor people, but it's also reinforcing their cycle of poverty. Luckily, though, its dracunculiasis is really easy and inexpensive to actually prevent. Most of the prevention methods are aimed at public health education, so just informing people about how it's actually contracted, and then you want to teach people how to prepare their water better. So you either will boil or filter your water, or drink it out of life straws. You can also use a bait, which is a larvicide, for chemical water purification. You also want to cook your food properly, especially aquatic foods, and not give uncooked scraps to animals. One issue that they've seen is that they think dogs are getting infected because they're eating like fish scraps given to them. And then, so for the future, is a really positive outlook. So in the 1980s, yearly cases were well over 3 million, and there are 20 endemic countries. But due to really effective public health education and preventative measures, in 2018, there were only 28 human cases. 199 countries have been certified as guinea worm free, and there are only 4 countries which are still classified as endemic, which are Mali, South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Chad. But Mali has not had a case for 3 years, and will likely soon be declared guinea worm free. So it's really likely that, given the current rates of infection, they're just decreasing all the time, that guinea worm disease could soon become the second disease affecting humans to be successfully eradicated, the first of which was smallpox. So thank you for watching, and these are my references.